trust isn't built with expensive cameras, fancy lighting, and slick editing. In this video, I'm going to talk about 3 ways you can build trust. The other day, I was listening to a podcast with British comedians Jimmy Carr and Russell Howard, and they said something that I think is really relevant for what I'm talking about today. They were talking about that statistic that says the average person now has less of an attention span than a goldfish. And yet, podcasts that are 20 minutes, 60 minutes, even 3 hours long are exploding on podcast platforms. People are listening to them, they're downloading them, they're subscribing, and they're coming back. Why? Because people are craving authenticity and connection. And that's what I'm really talking about today. How to build trust in video is authenticity and connection. So, the first way when you're making videos, if you want to build trust with your audience, is speak to one person. Here's why. I think a lot of people, when they're making marketing videos for their business, they're really focused on the idea of going viral and getting millions of views. But let's be realistic for a minute. Let's say you're a coach, a healer, a consultant, some kind of expert, and you have some kind of one on one program, whether it's a done for you, done with you, you're a coach, whatever. You have only so much bandwidth to add new people. So even if you're brand new, you have no clients, and you say, I can work with 12 people right now. You can't get 12 people all at once. You'll be overwhelmed. Maybe you could do 2 people now, 2 people in a couple weeks until you get up to 12. So let's say you only want 1 or 2 new people right now. You don't need a video to go viral to go to millions of people. You only need a small number of people. Likewise, say you have a group program or an online course, and last time you ran it, you had 5 people and you were happy, but you're thinking, okay, this time it'll be really nice if I got 10 people. Well, again, if you're making a video to get 5 extra people or 10 people, you don't need to go viral. You don't need to have millions of people. You maybe only need 40 or 50 of the ideal clients to watch your videos. Let's focus on the one person. So think about who your ideal client is. Maybe give her a name. Think about who she is. What's her struggles? What's her pain points? And speak as if you're talking to her, as if she's like right here, right in front of you, and speak to her that way. That does a few things. One, if you're not worried about being viewed by millions of people, it's a little less scary to go on camera, because if you're thinking, I'm only going to have a small number of people watch my videos, but they're like the right people, you can be more comfortable. You can be more confident. You don't fall into that fake broadcaster voice where you try to sound different. You can just be yourself and you can talk to that person. The other thing is, if you have in your mind the picture of who your ideal client is. You've given her a name. Maybe you colored Jane in your head, and you're speaking to her struggles, her pain points, her desires, her hopes. And you're speaking as if you're talking to her. If Jane or people like Jane are watching your video, they're going to feel like, oh, this person understands me. This person sees me. This person knows what I'm going through, and maybe they can help me achieve the goals I want. So it's more relatable if you really focus on that one person than worry about going viral. So that's the first way to build trust. Speak to one person. What are all the blockbuster movies, the ones that have millions of sales and people line up, or the top TV series, the ones that people binge watch, they download? Most of them are fictional because they're stories, and they're good stories. They're stories that people can relate to, people can connect to. And there's a reason for that. When we were living in caves, we were sitting around the fire, we hadn't invented writing yet. People told stories, and they told stories for a whole slew of reasons. They told stories for entertainment. They told stories to build a sense of community. They told stories to educate. That's how we passed on information and knowledge, was through stories. And if you were a traveler, and you came to a new community, one of the ways you connected with your audience is to be able to tell new stories and be welcomed into the community. Is if you told stories that were entertaining, that taught things, that were relatable, people would go, oh, this person's like me. And it's the same in your videos. Can you tell stories that relate to what you're trying to teach? So rather than just going into the nuts and bolts of whatever it is you're teaching and getting into all the weeds and all the details, in your marketing videos, spend a little bit more time telling stories, because I promise you, the majority of people are going to remember the stories you tell more than they're going to remember the statistics or the details or the ABC of the steps of what to do. So, can you think of a story that illustrates the point that you're trying to make, or makes people resonate with what you're saying? And it doesn't always have to be client-based case studies. Now, those are fabulous. If you have case studies, those are brilliant. But it can also be stories related to your personal life that you can segue into the message that you're trying to tell. For example, I have a story that I've used over and over again of my son and his friend when they were, I think, 9, and they had a lemonade stand, and they made a good bit of money for a couple of boys who were selling on a non-busy street, and they wanted to do another one, and I said, "Well, why don't you do Kool-Aid instead of lemonade? It's cheaper." And my son said, "Oh, we can't do Kool-Aid because then the adults won't buy it, and they're the ones that tip." So, and then I used that as a story for knowing your ideal client. Telling a story builds that connection, builds that trust, and is memorable. So if you want your audience to trust you, tell stories, tell personal, real stories, personal stories, and then relate it to the message you're trying to convey. When you're planning your video, try to come up with some stories that will tell your point. And this is where ChatGPT or any AI tools that you're using isn't going to work, because ChatGPT doesn't know your personal life, doesn't know your personal stories. It's also authenticity and building connection by showing who you are and letting people connect with who you are. The last point I'm going to talk about today is be human and don't edit out the human stuff. Like I said at the beginning, people are craving long form podcasts because podcasts are more real. They're not so scripted. People are having real conversations. And it's the same with the human stuff. When I was first started playing around with TikTok, there's one time I was recording a video, and just after I hit record, I sneezed. And it wasn't one of these dainty lady like "Achoo." No, this one was like a full body knock your socks off sneeze. It was brutal. And my first instinct was to delete this and start over. And then I thought, well, wait a sec, that would be a little hypocritical when I'm teaching my students, my clients, to be authentic. So I posted this video and I just did a little caption about, well, nobody's perfect. And it really got tons of engagement and comments because people could relate to it. And so making a mistake or sneezing on camera isn't death. People don't want these polished, perfect videos. Remember during the pandemic, during lockdown, when everybody was working from home, there was all these reporters who were doing their reports over Zoom on live broadcasts. And remember, there's the one journalist and he was reporting, and then his 2 toddlers came into his office, and then his wife kind of crawled in because she was trying to stay off camera to get the kids out. And it was hilarious because, first of all, it was charming and it was cute, but also it was something everybody who was suddenly having to work from home and had their whole family at home, everybody had an experience of somebody walking in while they're on a Zoom meeting. It was relatable, it was human, and it was harmless. So if you make a mistake, if you stumble over a word, if you knock over your water glass, I've actually done that. I knocked over and spilled all over myself and had to like mop it up so I don't like destroy my keyboard. If you make a mistake on camera, feel free to leave it there, because it's human, it's honest, it's authentic, and people don't want the highlight reels. People don't want the perfect. They want real people. And so if you are not 100% perfect, people will actually love you more for it. So, just a quick recap. People are looking for authenticity, they're looking for connection, and the ways you can do that are speak as if you're speaking to one person. Tell stories, real, honest stories that relate to whatever it is you're trying to teach. And don't be afraid to be human. Don't be afraid to make a mistake. The mistakes are the things that are going to help people go, oh, this is the person for me. This is a real person. I can relate to them. So if this sparked something in you, if you went, oh, yeah, I could do that. I think I could tell a story. I think I might be okay if I stumble over a word. I might be able to leave some of the imperfections in my videos. I'd love to invite you to my masterclass Adventures in Visibility. And I use that name intentionally. I I really want it to be fun. Running your own business, working for yourself is hard. And if you can't have fun along the way, kind of what's the point? I want your marketing, your visibility, your building connections with people. I want you to have fun. I want you to play with it, but also be strategic so you actually grow your business. In the class, I'm going to be talking about story and videos and how to build a personal brand that people can relate to, people can connect to, but not the entire world, your people, your audience. I'm going to talk about how to create videos that are genuine, relatable, natural, and build a flow so that you've got videos for different stages of the client journey. And I'll talk about how once you've done a video, don't just leave it sitting there on your computer. There's lots of other things you can do with it so your marketing becomes easier, less work, and also more authentic. Thank you for joining me today. I hope I gave you some ideas about how to build trust with your videos. I'm Andrea Stenberg. I'm a video marketing strategist, and I will see you again soon.